how can we really say what's right and what's wrong?
Why do you feel it necessary to say this is right and that this is wrong?
A lot of good people and a lot of different pathways that people take to God.
There are many, many roads. They all lead to the same thing, you know. That's all I know about it.
I question anyone's divinity. You know, for me, Jesus was a man.
God is experiencing himself or herself or itself through us.
They're all born out of the same thing, I guess, which is man's desire to live a good life.
There are so many religions out there, so many people that have claimed to be the Son of God before, and it's a historical accident.
Maybe we are collectively God.
All of us together are God.
This ministry hopes to probe the depths of the issues that confront us, but becoming deep ought not to mean becoming difficult. I would say we are about probing the marvelous wonder of who God is. We are about understanding the reality of emotions without emotionalism taking over. We respect the intellect without intellectualizing everything.
The uniqueness that RZIM brings to the Christian community is the passion for apologetics. I think the ability to reach the thinking skeptic.
Wherever I go as a representative of this team, I find a very high expectation of excellence and content that we might present to them. So there's both the welcome and the pressure of being on RZIM.
We are preaching in a different way. I call it the unchanging gospel in a changing world. It's evangelism undergirded by apologetics.
When RZIM first began, even though I envisioned this ministry meeting a particular need, I never envisioned it sort of branching out and growing in such large proportion.
The interest in apologetics has skyrocketed. We have to respond to the charge from the new atheists. We have to respond to the fear of religion because of what's happening with various militant groups around the world. We have to speak into the vacuum. I think we're experiencing that huge inrush. Do you have anything to say? Can you respond to this? Does it make do these arguments we've been given, do they make sense?
We live in very interesting times. The Christian faith is experiencing an onslaught of questions that are probably new to a lot of Christians. And I think this is where we come in and say, look, you know, don't panic, we can think through this. We try to inspire Christians to think and to take this faith seriously.
You stand in front of audiences and they say, here's the dartboard, bring in the darts.
How do you think Christianity can fix the world if the absolute law that you demand is not present in Christianity itself?
Are you uncomfortable with the fact that maybe I'm just evil without sense or reason?
How do you prove that? Like, man wrote the Bible.
A lot of the people haven't even heard of Jesus Christ, much less seen the Bible.
How do you know Jesus would approve?
How do I know?
How can you answer that question?
You're too smart to be a Christian.
You know, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think there's a lot of truth in what you're saying, but you're forgetting an awful lot too. Ultimately, you and I are not Christians by the denomination or the abomination we belong to. We are Christians by becoming followers of Jesus Christ. Unity does not have to be uniformity. We seek the mind and heart of a generation to find its connection in the person of Christ. When he tells you to let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, that I think ought to be the pursuit of this ministry.
When people tell me, oh, there must be other ways of salvation, I say, suggest one. I'm sure that is going to be less costly for God.
Let's be persecuted for the right reasons. Someone might say, oh, I was persecuted for Christ, but actually you weren't. You were persecuted for being a horrible bigot.
It is impossible to be a true Christian unless you are also thinking about it. When it says that faith is a gift in the Bible, that is not the gift of stupidity.
The big question that drives us all is the central question of whether the Christianity is true or not. Either Christ is who he says he is, and that the view of God that we have animates us in every sense of our life, our mission, our passion, and that's worth speaking publicly about. It's public truth, it's not private truth.
Evangelism undergirded by apologetics, followed up by spiritual disciplines. That has never changed. Those were the bottom lines of this ministry for the reason we came into being and the reason we continue to exist.